Thank you so much. Let me take this.
I hear you, man. I'm dying in here.
It is great to be back and see so many friends in Broward County. I hope that you recognize in this election cycle how important this county is for the state and for the country. Let me first, we have 240,000 Republicans here, maybe more. 244. And we need all of you. I'm so proud of you to be here tonight. Let me first thank your state committeeman Ed Kennedy and Sharon Day, who's not only representing you in the state, but representing us in the country. Follow their lead. Follow the lead of your chair, and we will carry Broward County like never before. It's critically important that we do that. We've got to re-elect Kevin Tynan. We need good Republicans on the school board. We've got to elect our friend Chip LaMarca, who brings some accountability and decency and good conservative principles to the county commission. You know, he's going to be a great member of this commission. And of course, continue to support our sheriff. I'm proud to be endorsed by Sheriff Lamberti, but he needs your support. And you may have noticed that the newspapers don't like the fact that there's an elected Republican at sheriff. They don't necessarily like that. But it's okay. He brings great principles, and he's fighting hard to keep this community safe. Give him a round of applause. He deserves it. He deserves it. Sitting next to I have a 5-year-old Jackson on Sunday. I had a great day. I was at home all day. And I sat him down in my lap to read him a book about American presidents. And on the cover there were some pictures of some of the presidents. I don't even know how he knows this, but he looks at one of the pictures. He says, "Isn't that Bill Clinton, Daddy?" And I said, "Yes, it is." He says, "Well, isn't he a Democrat? I thought only Republicans could be president." If only. But you hope you're raising them right. And you know, Cindy and I, we talked about this in the children's cabin. One of the things that always, it's a striking statistic to me that 50% of the children in America aren't taught history and civics. And more than that in Congress, by the way. It's very obvious. Because if they understood the legacy that we have as Americans, that this is the first country in the history of mankind where the people said government's not the master, it's the servant. And it only has that power which we the people give it. We're the first country in the history of mankind where we put it in our founding documents. Everybody's created equal. Everyone. And every person. Doesn't matter where you came from. What side of the tracks you were from. Where your parents were from. Every single person has certain natural rights. Freedom of speech. Freedom of religion. Freedom of the press. And what's most remarkable about America is we don't believe that those rights are given to us by government. They're granted to us by God. And that's why people have come here. That's why people have come here since the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock until today. You don't hear about people leaving the country. They come here because they know this is, as Ronald Reagan called it, the shining city on a hill. It continues to be the land of opportunity. And that legacy is what is at stake in the next 2 election cycles. Whether we continue to be the freest, greatest nation on earth. Whether we continue to make it possible for our children to have it better than us. That's what's at stake. And the stakes, it could never be higher. Now, I've been a Republican my whole life. Let me back up a minute. I want to mention something about my family. You probably need to know a little bit about me. When my great-grandfather came here in 1891, he was 6 years old. He ultimately had a small farm in Illinois. My grandfather's a skilled laborer. My dad gets up at 4:30 every day and drives a dump truck. And I'm the first person from my family to go to college. But that's not a story unique to the Kottkamp family. That's a story of everybody in the room. That's why America's so great. I've had a job of some kind since I was 12 years old. I've dug ditches. I've unloaded trucks on the loading docks. I've laid sod, which I don't recommend. Very hard. But I know what it's like to go home at the end of the day covered in sweat and dirt from a hard day's work. And I'll tell you this, because of that work ethic, that allowed me to work my way through college. It allowed me to pay my way through law school. And the work ethic that my father taught me is something that I cherish. I don't resent it. And I will work as hard as I can for you if I have the privilege to be your Attorney General. As I said, I've been a lifetime Republican my whole life. My first campaign I worked on was for Ronald Reagan in college. I've worked on Jeb Bush's campaigns and Connie Mack's campaigns. Like you, I was a precinct committee man. I worked my way up through the party. I served in the legislature, as Cindy said. I chaired the Judiciary Committee. I chaired the Judicial Appropriations Committee. I oversaw all the funding for the court system and the state attorneys and the public defenders. And I'll tell you this too, I'm not running for state attorney. I'm running for Attorney General. And there's a huge difference. And I would encourage you to find out more about why there's a difference. But let me say this about principles of the party and things that are important to the members of this party. I've always been pro-life, but I don't just talk about it. I passed a parental notice of abortion bill signed into law by Governor Bush. I've always been pro-Second Amendment, but I didn't just talk about it. I co-sponsored legislation so that you can't be prosecuted if you use a firearm against somebody that breaks into your home and threatens the safety of you and your family. Our founding fathers were so thoughtful. They knew that over history we would look at the Bill of Rights and we would look at the First Amendment and freedom of speech and freedom of religion, that we would cherish these rights. But they also knew this. The last best defense against government tyranny is the ability of the citizens to arm themselves. So, like a century over the First Amendment, they put the right to bear arms right behind it in the Second Amendment. That's how thoughtful they were and how important they knew that right was to protect our liberty. Now, as Republicans, this cycle could never be more important. And you've heard a little bit about what the next Attorney General inherits. In most cycles, maybe you may not care so much about the Attorney General's race. This cycle's different. Because as you heard, the next Attorney General inherits the challenge to Obamacare. Now, I was the first candidate to speak out about this about a year ago, and it's kind of the best form of flattery to hear my speeches coming out in other speeches now, I guess. But this is so important because it's not about health care. This legal challenge isn't about health care. It's about freedom. Does the Constitution mean what it says? Does the 10th Amendment mean what it says? Are we as a people going to say to the federal government, enough is enough? And draw a line in the sand and say, no more. We're not going to let you get further and further and further into our daily life. That's what's at stake in this litigation. And I'm, by the way, the only one in this race that's actually licensed to practice in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals in the United States Supreme Court, where the next Attorney General will have to take these cases. It's critically important for our children, for our grandchildren, that we carry on that fight. And the other thing I'll tell you is this. Both of the Democrats running in this race have already said they'll dismiss the suit. We cannot let that happen.